Good afternoon, students. Good afternoon, students. We're here to continue from where we stopped last week. If you remember, we started with part 1 of the comprehension passage last week. And this is an extension of where we stopped last week. That is, we are starting with the second part of the comprehension passage. I believe that everybody is conversant with comprehension. And for you to write JAM, the hallmark of JAM is a comprehension passage. You're able to excel there. It means success has already what? Started smiling. So we're able to grab what you can see on the board. We have what? The definition of comprehension. And from what you can see on the board, we said that is what? Is an active and complex process, which includes what? Meaning the writer is passing an information towards the student. Now, for you to understand this, you should not allow your mind to what? Diversify. I repeat. The word diversify means that when you are absent-minded, a student who is absent-minded may not be able to comprehend or assimilate what the writer is trying to pass across. Hence, you have to show what is called undiluted attention for you to grab, to understand the message the writer is passing across to the decoder. Now, having said that, if you look at the board now, we said is what? You are doing what? Simultaneous action. You are extracting and constructing. The information inherent in the passage is being what? Process, analyze, interpret, in order to form a word. Opinion is not required in comprehension passage. It has to be based on what the writer, the information passed across. Remember that I told you every day. I said what the passage discusses is called what? Subject matter. What the passage discusses is called what? Subject matter. The lesson derivable from the passage is called what? The lesson derivable from the passage is called what? Theme. Having said that, I want you to show total attention, please. Now you look at it very well. There are some factors that can militate against effective comprehension of a given passage. And like I told you that very day, I said inadequate vocabulary. A student who is not versed in vocabulary does not stand a chance of assimilating or interpreting what the writer has passed across. Because some passages, they will ask to find nearest meaning to the underlying word, or they may ask for contextual meaning. Contextual meaning of a word. And this contextual meaning has to do with what? The meaning given to a word in association to the passage. A word cannot be given meaning to in isolation. It has to go along with the passage. So you have to check the passage where that word is used to be able to have what? And understand what the word is talking about. And another thing you need to know, you must know the word class the word belongs to. If it's a noun, it should be replaced by a noun. It's an adjective, it should be replaced by an adjective. It's a verb, it should be replaced by a verb. And another verb too. You know, we have two types. We have what? The singular and the plural. Now, for you to understand, remember that the singular verb, let's go attract what? S or ES. Why the plural does not attract X, it's devoid of S. So you have to be very careful. Don't be stampeded into thinking that any verb that attracts S or ES is always what? We know it's what? Plural, but the opposite is what? When it comes to verb, it is what? Opposite. Verb that attracts S or ES is not what? Singular. So if the verb, the word that is underlying the compression is a verb, and if it is singular, the replacement should be called what? Singular verb. However, if it is plural verb is divided of letter X or ES. We are talking about verb like sing, endure. You can see that they do not attract X. So if that verb is noticeable in your context, meaning the replacement should call it what? Verb is plural. So you have to take note. Word, let's use the word cheerful. If they use the word cheerful, we all know that cheerful is an adjective. by virtue of the suffix that ends with FUL. We said that any suffix that ends with FUL is always what? And don't be stamping it to think that chef is what? Lively. You need to go through the context of the word. Real meaning may not fit into what we're talking about. Because we have what's called contextual meaning and real meaning. And for you to do that, you must equally understand what we call denotative and connotative meaning. When we talk about denotative, remember, the direct meaning of a word. Connotative, implied meaning. Under comprehension, we call it inferential comprehension. Implied meaning of a word. For instance, when you use the word goat, we all know goat is what? Domestic animal. But the connotative meaning is someone that is very stubborn. Look at the way words are used creatively. Meaning, it means what? A domestic animal, right? But the connotative meaning is what? Someone that is very stubborn. Highly what? Stubborn. Someone that is quite what? Recalcitrant. You must have come across the word recalcitrant. You must have come across the word recalcitrant. Someone that is very stubborn. Having said that, like I told you, the background knowledge in comprehension is highly essential, quite imperative. So you need to understand. Don't jump into conclusion when you're trying to provide an answer. Having said that, if you look at what I've written on the board, I said we are what? Extracting what? Information and constructing what? Meaning from the text. Is a simultaneous action. Now, how can you process meaning from a passage? It has to be done with your prior knowledge, background knowledge. Someone who is shallow-minded cannot interpret, I repeat, cannot analyze words in a passage. What is about a passage? Understanding the message inherent in a given passage. And to but let me take you a little bit of question. We have narrative question, we have a descriptive, we have expository. What about narrative? Narrative has to do with telling a story. Telling what a story in a given passage. That story could be what? Fiction or non-fiction. And it follows passage. Talks about a story. And that story could be what? Fiction or non-fiction. What is fiction? Fabricated story. Drawn from the imagination of the writer. It's not a true life experience. The writer may decide to what? To talk about his own personal experience. And that is what we call under sources. We call it original and adaptation. That original has to do with story given from the word source, experience, embellishment. The story. That long produce that they only adapt only few. Partial means what? Incomplete. To write what? A story or to write what? A comprehension passage. Now, when they use complete adaptation, simply means that complete adaptation means that without any form of embellishment, no distortion, no addition, and it is a personal experience of a person. It could be what? Economic, political, or experience that or personal experience that the person encountered probably 10 years ago or 5 years ago. The bottom line of this thing is that I want you to be aware of the sources of question on that comprehension passage. Like I told you, we have what? Original and adaptation. Now, the person can decide to talk about his economic or political experience of his own country. For instance, let me improvise. Let me put myself in the shoes of the word writer. Look at this, Since independence, Nigeria has never experienced democratic fulfillment. Each successive leader tend to embezzle money kept at their disposal. We have not enjoyed dividend of democracy. each successive government promise and fail to deliver their mandate. And Nigeria have been used as a what? As a tool to actualize their what? Inordinate ambition. And this thing has led to what? Division among the ethnic groups. We have more than 250 ethnic groups in the country. And we have 3 dominant ethnic groups. These 3 dominant ethnic groups, Hausa, Yoruba, Igbo, some have been marginalized, not some. Igbo seem to have been marginalized. And they are clamoring for what? Marginalized, that they want to what? Break away. They should be given what? A new lease of life. But their voice seems to have been what? Subjugated. The successive government failed to deliver democratic gain. And we are continuing to be what? Subjugated. We are continuing to be what? Monopolized. We are continuing to be what? Used as a tool. Because poverty is quite pervasive. And any country where poverty is pervasive, the electorate, they will be at the mercy of the government. Now, from what I've just said now, is a what? Is my own personal experience of my work, countries. It's under what? Adaptation. And this is what? Original. It is not figment of my imagination. That is what has happened in the country. Historical. Now, from what I've just said now, I'm trying to digress. Can you just guess what is the tone? Tone of the person, because sometimes on comprehension, they ask for the tone. The tone has to do with the language used by the writer. Is the tone, look at it, before you talk about tone, you know, tone and mood are interwoven. When we talk about mood, mood is the state of mind of the writer while composing his work. While tone is his choice of words used to convey the thought of the writer. Now, from the mood, we can see that the person is in what? Melancholic mood. Melancholic. Melancholic simply means what? Sad. Melancholic. Means what? Sad. Depressed. By virtue of what is happening in the country. Then the tone. Can we call it satirical or critical tone? When we talk about satirical tone, tone that showcases societal ill, with the aim of what? Correcting such societal vices, such as exam malpractice, bribery and corruption, prostitution, moral decadence. And from what I've improvised here, is under what? You know, it's under historical event. And what I've just done is what? Satirical. I'm throwing it to the audience to decide whether the successive government have been able to carry the people along, or they are, how will I call it, embodiment of greed. The choice is yours. So the thought is what? Satirical. You can see that we have used one stone to kill 2 birds, more than 2. Now, having said that, I think you have been able to understand what I mean by narrative. Descriptive question. Simply describe, paint a vivid picture in a passage. Now, for you to understand descriptive picture, they make use of what? Sensory language. They make use of what they call sensory language. Sensory language depicts the use of what? Sense organs. We have 5. We have what? Sight, shape, touch, taste, and yeah. Hey, sound now. No, I've not written sound, sorry. Sound. These are the 5. Sight has to do with what? Image of what? Sight. I mean, visual. Visual imagery. We have what? Shape. Sorry, I said shape there. We don't have shape there. No. We have sight, taste, touch, sound. Yeah. Sound is auditory. Just like when you hear the sound of a car accident or music. Touch is texture. Just like you are feeling the AC now. If it is too cold, it will be quite what? Suffocating. I get it now, please. Then when you talk about taste, that is gustatory. When you eat something that is quite bitter, you feel it. That one called gustatory. Then we have what? Smell. That's what I've omitted. Smell. That is olfactory. So all these 5, they are noticeable under what is called descriptive question or comprehension, in which the writer is painting a vivid picture of an event, trying to carry the people along as if they witness the event. So once you see something like this, it paints a vivid picture. It's under what? Then expository, what does it do? It provides information about how to make something. And under this expository, listen what about this is that it makes it a what? Fact and data. And it's added into two parts. We have informational and analytical. Informational and analytical. Analytical. Now, informational provide information about a particular thing using statistics. Why analytical? Analyze the event and interpret the facts stated. So when you say expository, provide information. And narrative and we call it what? Expository. These are the three types of comprehension passage. Question. Now, having done that, let's go back to this. When we talk about literal, what is literal? Understanding explicit facts stated in a passage. The answer is clearly stated. The answer is clearly stated. And under this literal, there are 5 interrogative words that are used. Who is the central? What is the central idea? Central idea simply means what? The subject matter, what the passage discusses. Then the lesson derivative is called what? Theme. Then the fact, whether the passage is talking about fact or opinion. You know, when you talk about fact, fact is based on what? Veritable or believable events in the country. Why opinion is not backed up by fact. Now, under this literal, the answer is quite stated in the passage. We have what? Who. That is, who simply means what? The subject matter. What the passage is discussing. Where, the setting or the location. Where does the action take place? And why? Why simply means that what led to the action? What triggered the action? There must be some factor that actually what triggered the action. So under this literal, it's a be what? Direct interpretation of the given passage. Identifying the factual message, the factual facts stated in the passage. And for you to do that, you must understand keywords. I told you last week that keywords are important word in a passage. It could be a noun. It could be a verb. It could be an adjective. And these keywords, think about keywords too. Names of the month, days, person, country. They are under what? Keywords. And they are what? Clues to unraveling the answer. So once you see them, just annotate, means underline it. Let me reiterate. I said, under literal comprehension, you should be able to be familiarized with what we call keywords. Keywords are an important word in a passage. It could be a noun. It could be a verb. It come across days of the week. Sunday to Saturday. Days of the month. January to December. Name of places. Lagos, Nigeria, Kaduna. They are under keywords, please. And they are tools towards unraveling the central idea. Are we getting it, please? Then we'll move on to what is called topic sentence. Remember what I told you last week? Topic sentence conveys the central idea in a given passage. Sometimes, some people, they love the idea of going through the question. For them to have what? Clue about the answers. And one thing about this is very well, if you are dealing with narrative passage, the answers are going to be arranged in a chronological order. Simply means that your question number 1, the answer will be in that first passage. Question number 2, second passage. Just take note. These are facts that you can confirm. Now, one thing you need to do, you should not allow your mind to be what? Absent-minded. Or once you are diversified, meaning your mind is not settled, you are preoccupied with other things, you may not be able to comprehend. Because one thing about comprehension is what? Total concentration, devoid of distraction. Once you are distracted, your hope of understanding will be drastically jeopardized. I repeat, The word jeopardize means what? Endanger. So you need to give it total attention, devoid of distraction. So once you are distracted, it could be psychologically, emotionally, physically. Man, that's going to be a problem. Comprehension, remember, understanding the explicit fact. For you to understand, you should not give room for distraction. Let's move on what you're doing. I believe that you are getting along. Now, I've explained keywords. We are in what? Topic sentence. And I told you that topic sentence convey the central idea in a given passage. And the central idea could be in the first or second. Another idea that I always want you to do. Sometimes, depending on your system, some may like to read the question first. But I will suggest that you should not read the question. Read the first paragraph. After reading the first paragraph, now go back to that question. Question number 1, you get your answer. 1, it will save you time and energy. Remember that you are writing JAM. JAM is meant for clever students, not a bunch of mediocres. I repeat, JAM is meant for clever students, not a bunch of mediocres. If your knowledge is shallow, your hope of understanding will drastically what? Jeopardize. And that is why you have to stay focused. Please, I repeat, when you read the first question, remember you are making use of what? Skimming or scanning method. This is a faster rate of reading. 1 is to have a general overview of what the passage talks about. While the other, you are picking out a specific idea, phrase, or clause. Are you getting it now? Once you deploy this thing now, go through the passage first. First passage, read it. Then you now go back to the question. Read that first question. You'll see that it will be clear. The answer will be quite clear for you. But if you want to read all the passage, if you're a slow learner, I implore you not to read the whole passage. But you're a fast learner, you could do that. If you're slow learner, read the first passage. Read the first paragraph. Having done that, go through the number 1 question. You will get the answer. But if you know that you are fast, you have fast retentive memory, you can read all the passage at once, then you go back to the question. But if you're not, to save time, because JAM deal with time, the time at your disposal is very, very minimal. I repeat, the time allocated is quite too short. So you have to make the best use. And you have to be on top of the game. You must learn to read between the lines. You must learn to what? Read between the lines for you to understand what the passage is talking about. The passage is not hard. It could be economic, it could be sport, it could be science-oriented, it could be fiction, story, biography of somebody. So once you get acquainted with this thing, you know that any passage they are trying to pass across a message. What you need to do is that what is the information the writer is trying to pass across? What is the information the writer is passing across? Now, if you cannot look at the information here, go to the second paragraph, you see there. Then who is the character? What are the obstacles the character is facing? What is the tone of the passage? What is the mood? Mood determines the tone, state of mind of the writer. Just like the one I improvised earlier on. White tone is what? Choice of words used to convey the thought of the writer. Anybody that write passage about Nigeria or the last election, you see that people are not really happy with the state of events. Political issue in Nigeria, because we have been what? We have been manipulated, and the so-called leader, they are not willing to stop. So any compression that talks about political events in the country, you see that they are not really happy with the event in society, but we cannot do anything. So what we're saying that you should be able to identify the message the writer is passing across. Like I told you earlier on, you are extracting, and at the same time, reorganizing your thought, the idea, the variable for the passage. So having done that, we don't want to waste too much time. I've explained the keywords, the topic. Lexical items means what? Difficult words used by the writer. And anybody who is shallow-minded cannot excel in JAM comprehension, average personnel. So you need to read every day. A good student never ceases to read. Why a lazy student does what? Procrastinate. is a theft of time. You need to read every day. If you're required to replace a word, that is let's kind of pass. Like I told you the other day, I need retention. 2, regression. There are some students that they read a particular line more than 3 or 4 lines. It shows that they are slow learner. How can you improve? Constant reading, novel, magazine, newspaper. Then when you come across a particular word, check the meaning. Students do not have reading of Mr. Israel. That's why this program is put on air. So TMAT, in order to encourage the student, because he is determined, he is fully loaded to ensure that the student pass the forthcoming jam for those who are serious-minded, not a bunch of mediocres. And that's why he has put every resources at his disposal to help the student. And nobody plans to fail, but we fail to prepare in earnest. So start preparing from now. Jam form will be on sale next month. Remember, January. So let's leave that one. Like I said, regression is another factor. Inadequate vocabulary is another factor. Listening and reading news. Reading and listen to music. Because the place of music stimulates. Enhance my reading. Now lie. Because some find it hard to comprehend when they are reading a noisy atmosphere. Why some? They believe that they can, depending on your system. But the bottom line is 40 reading habit. We don't want to waste too much time there. Another thing is a register. There are technical ways. So, and the comprehension, they can give you, pass it from what? Science and technology. It could be sport. You cannot tell them, sir, I'm not a science student, because they expect you're a student. You have to read wide. And that is why register seems to have been incorporated in the world, WAEC and JAM syllabus. So you should not be giving excuses. Having said that, let's go back to this thing now. I've explained literal. The inferential comprehension. What do you say about the word infer? When you infer means to think. Now, under that inferential comprehension, you are made to what? Analyze. Look at the implied meaning of a passage. Now, they are testing your knowledge, ability to form a judgment, read between the lines, ability to read is quite imperative under inferential comprehension. There are some passages that they will ask you that, what is the suitable title to the passage? They will ask you, what is the suitable title to the passage? Meaning, based on what you have read. Mind you, they don't want to give your own personal opinion based on what you read. You should limit it to what the writer stated in the passage. The explicit fact stated in the passage, that is what you're dealing with. Your own personal opinion or sentiment is not required. Please. Don't say because you have knowledge of the story. No. If it's against your own intuition, just follow what is stated in the passage. So inferential means what? To think, to infer, to deduce fact based on what is stated. You have to go extra mile to make a projection based on what is said. For instance, let me give you a clue now. We know that, like I said earlier on, our successive government have failed Nigeria. Now, what can you infer from that statement? It means that our government is what? Self-centered. They are greedy. So you have to read between the line for you to form a conclusion, to draw a conclusion, to form judgment. That's the under inferential. We don't have time. Then in your question, we ask you, what does the writer infer? How did the writer deduce the meaning? These are questions related to what? Inferential comprehension. Then evaluative means what? To analyze critically the facts stated in the passage. And for you to analyze, you have to make it what? Logic. You have to draw a conclusion between two evidence, analysis, interpretation. And for you to do that, you must be loaded. Like I said, logic, bring it to irrelevant who is very, very vast in knowledge. Vocabulary. They will not appreciative comprehension. This is the kind of comprehension that you read for fun. Novel, poem, just to appreciate the beauty of the writer. You are not under any intense pressure at all. Under what? Appreciative comprehension. You are appreciating the beauty, the form, the method that the writer uses is called appreciative comprehension. Then applied comprehension. This is a kind of comprehension that you form a judgment based on explicit and implicit facts stated in the passage. You form what? A judgment based on what you have read. That is what we call applied. You apply judgment based on the facts stated in the passage. These are the types of comprehension that you should be conversant with. Another one that I did not write there, because of time, we have what we call exception. That exception comprehension is the kind of comprehension that they'll give you that one of these facts, all this fact is stated except. All this fact is stated in the past except, meaning that they'll give you option A to D. 3 are fact. Why the last one is what? Is the exception. And if you don't understand the passage, you cannot arrive at such an answer. So meaning, whenever you are reading, you have to read with your rapt attention. Don't give room for any form of distraction whatsoever. You need to stay focused for it to grab the idea. The last one, but not the least, the bottom line, you can see that we have been talking about method, types, is to read consistently, nothing more. You must have high retentive memory. Assimilation rate should be very high. And how do you do that? Constant practice. The last class, next week, on this comprehension, we now go to types of this one that we've done. We extract passages from jam past question in order to buttress what we have said. And we'll only talk about detailed question. That is illustration. At this junction, I'm afraid we have to call it a day. Thanks for your attention. Have a nice day. Sure.